Parents dropping their kids off at school expect them to be safe.
No one is protecting our children in that schoolhouse.
They have turned my autistic child into a monster to excuse the abuse that they threw at him.
For the past year, Central Illinois parents have been calling and emailing WAND News about stories like this.
If you really cared, why do you continue to protect the people that is abusing our children?
Tonight, WAND News investigates how cases of abuse keep happening and why there are often little or no consequences.
Can you tell me what happened to your son?
Dominic was standing in a hallway at Garfield Alternative when his TA took 2-3 steps striding toward him to snatch a sensory toy out of his hand.
Clarissa Brooks first learned her 6-year-old son was hurt in school back in September.
The school had called and said, Dominic's having a meltdown, can one of you come de-escalate?
She says his principal told her he was accidentally dropped by a staff member.
And I guess I didn't connect the dots because I was like, well, it sounds like an accident, right? No big deal. Then DCFS shows up and paints a completely different picture for me.
Weeks later, she finally saw this video.
Blind rage, because how somebody can have that kind of animosity and contempt toward a developmentally disabled child is mind-boggling when they are filling a caregiver role. It's terrifying.
School records show teachers told their principal the teaching assistant ripped a ball out of the child's hand before picking him up and forcefully throwing him back on the ground.
He grabbed him around his shoulder and threw him out the classroom, threw his jacket and stuff on the floor outside the classroom.
Auntiana Franklin shared a similar story with WAND News. A long-term substitute accused of violently throwing her 11-year-old son out of his class back in October at a different Decatur school.
You know, for me, I feel like my anxiety is always on high. I feel like at any point in time, I'm gonna have to run from work, you know, to go and get him or go save him.
Franklin says her son first told her about what he believed were inappropriate comments from the sub. Then things escalated.
He sat around this same person that abused him, that mentally messed with him, that, you know, targeted and taunted him from October to February.
In both cases, school officials called DCFS in to investigate.
In any event, we do make contact with children within 24 hours or make a good faith attempt to see a child within 24 hours.
State law requires anyone working in a school to report abuse or neglect to DCFS. An investigator will meet a child at school or home and interview witnesses along with the accused adult.
So it's either indicated, which means that there's credible evidence to substantiate the allegation of abuse or neglect, or it's unfounded, which means there's a lack of evidence.
DCFS will send parents a letter like this, letting them know what they found. But even if DCFS finds a staff member did abuse or neglect a child, that doesn't necessarily mean they'll face any discipline or lose their job.
Anything that has to do with whether or not someone maintains employment in a school is under the purview of the school and the school district itself. We make notification and then they have to take that information and make the decision that they make at that level.
This was the case for Desiree Allen's daughter. The Shelbyville mom showed WAND News this surveillance video. School records state the teacher pulled her 9-year-old daughter out of the bathroom and dragged her down the hallway, leaving her with bruises. The teacher was suspended for several days, as were the educators accused in the cases of Brooks and Franklin's sons. In all 3 cases, DCFS found the adult did abuse the child.
I just made the decision myself that since no one will respond back and remove my son away to a safe spot, I'll keep him home.
Her son's long-term substitute was eventually moved to a different classroom, and Allen filed an order of protection which forced the school district to temporarily move her daughter's teacher. But for both parents, the story ends there. In the case of Brooks' son, the aide was investigated by Decatur Public Schools and allowed to resign before his termination. Then weeks later, Macon County State's attorney charged him with felony aggravated battery. The case is set to go to trial June 4th. For WAND News, I'm Alyssa Patrick.